If you're a follower of the channel, you know that I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I think it's pretty cool, but it's way overrated. I've said this many times, it's 9 hours of midgets walking. There is only one hugely redeemable character and scene, and here Prime One Studio made it into a diorama. Everyone knows this scene, and you think of this scene all the time, especially when you ate too many tacos and you're out on a first date. It's just going over and over in your head.
You shall not pass!
As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. Some of you may have got that intro. Some of you may have hated it. And if you didn't get it, go back and watch it again. But today on the Extreme channel, we are looking at Prime One Studios' Balrog vs. Gandalf diorama. This crazy statue, as I said, is from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, arguably the coolest scene in that movie. Maybe even in the entire trilogy. This is when they are going through the Dwarven Caverns kind of towards the end of the movie, and the Balrog fire demon is chasing them, and Gandalf, for what we thought, that is of course if you didn't read the books, sacrificed his own life to save the Fellowship. But as spoiler alert, if you haven't seen these movies, he didn't sacrifice his own life. He actually became ultra powerful and became a white wizard, because apparently white is more powerful. Fucking racist movie. But anyway, we are going to do a review on this amazing, amazing statue. And believe it or not, the coolest part of this is when you look at it from afar, because up close, it's a little bit like that girl with an Adam's apple you saw from across the club. Far away, looks amazing. Up close, definitely going to have some regrets. Now, this is the regular version. We're going to talk all about that and value. We're going to look at the paint, sculpt, do close-up videos. Right now, we're just waiting for him to turn back around. I got time. And apparently so do you, because you're watching a YouTube video about a statue from Lord of the Rings. Do you have any good jokes? If you have a good joke, you can throw it down in the comments below. Make sure it's, appropriate, though. We're very kid-friendly on this channel. In a non-predator type of way. So we're going to kick off the review talking about concept, and it was the chair, not me. We're going to kick off this review talking about concept, and that's what the coolest part of this statue is. So as we look at the concept, one of the things you're not going to be able to see is it's amazing on so many different sides. So remember, this is Moria. This is where the dwarves lived, and it was abandoned. Or not necessarily abandoned, but the goblins killed all the dwarves that were left. They're trying to escape. They're trying to go through the mountain. And you see a lot of reminiscent stuff of that in the bottom, almost like broken chambers, statues of dwarves on the sides. And again, wait till the close-up video. We'll see it a lot better. But then you see the bridge that was collapsing. It was the only way out. So clearly the dwarves did not have the fire marshal in there very often. And this Balrog, this ancient demon of fire, is coming after them. And for the first time ever, we see how powerful Gandalf is, or we thought he is. Comes at him with a whip, which is actually a switch-out option we're going to talk about. And then eventually they do this sword fight. And as I said, he's a fire demon. So while he's not necessarily made out of fire, there's lava or fire inside of him. I don't recall. I read the books probably about 30 years ago or so. But he looks absolutely amazing. You see Gandalf ready to strike. He's using both his wand and his sword. And it's just such a badass quintessential scene from the movie. Like I said, arguably the best.
Dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun!
I absolutely love this. I think it's a 5 out of 5 for concept. It's one of the coolest things that Prime One Studios has put out for a long time. Now with design, there's a lot of cool things as well, but it also offers a lot of problems. And now these problems aren't very big, but we're really dissecting this guy. So before we look at all that, here's the unboxing and assembly. As one would expect, two absolutely gigantic boxes. I didn't take the art boxes out because they're such a pain with Prime One Studio to get them back in. The standard foam, now they're not doing the cloth anymore, it's strictly the wax paper, which I'm not a fan of. I'd rather have plastic, but here's the first box. One layer just had the base and then two of Balrog's wings. The second box had a compartment on the top which had the tail and then also a spot for the whip if you got the exclusive. We'll talk more about that later. Here is the second box main layer with all of the other pieces inside. Now, I said in the intro I said earlier, there's two different versions of this. The first is the regular. That's what I have right here. It comes with the sword. The other one is actually the deluxe, $100 more, and you could get this whip. I did not get this for a few different reasons. We'll talk about that in value. Now, you see the light up feature. Definitely one of the coolest light up features on a statue I've ever seen. Here's a picture of it with the light up feature off, and here is a picture with the light up feature on. Now the cool thing is the button to light him up is actually built into his skin. It was the chair. It was kind of right back here. So very easy access to turn it on and off. If you saw in the assembly, it's 3 AA batteries. Now I do got to say, the light up feature really makes the statue. It puts it over the top. So if that light up feature ever breaks or goes out, I think the statue significantly diminishes in awesomeness. Now, with all the parts that we put together, there are some seam lines. Check it out. Here's the portrait. This actually is not too bad. The wings, be honest with you, they're not the best. Tail is pretty good, actually. And everything fit really easy. It was really easy assembly. Now, here's the problem with this. First of all, I don't even know what scale this is. If I had to guess, I'd say it's somewhere between like 1/12 and 1/15. Maybe even 1/20th, meaning 20 times smaller than a real-life version. And they don't make many other Lord of the Rings collectibles in that scale. So if you're going to put this with other Lord of the Rings pieces, the scale will not match. Now, I do plan to put this with one other Lord of the Rings piece I have on order. This giant, it's not life-size, but it's damn 6-7 feet tall, Balrog bust. I think that will look awesome next to this. The other part of this is, even though it's a different scale, it's so large it's hard to display. I don't know what's the front, but let's just look at from the back to the end of the bridge is over 30 inches. Then if we said that's the depth, then the width is 17, 18 inches. And the highest point, the flame up there on his wing, is over 31 inches. So there's a lot of display problems here. There's really no good view to see everything. Whatever angle you look at it, you are missing out on some awesomeness. It almost needs to be a centerpiece, which is very hard to do in a collection. So you got to ask yourself, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I honestly don't know the answer, but it is something to note. But overall, I think they were pretty ingenious with this piece. I give it a 4 out of 5 on the design. It's not a perfect design. There's definitely a few minor things there, but they did really, really good. Now the paint and sculpt. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Some of it up close is good, but some of it's just very average in my opinion. If they didn't have such a cool design and concept, I could definitely see this an easy pass if you're just basing it on paint and sculpt. So much to look on this guy. So down here on the base, they really went all out. They have a tiny museum sub base. I think that could have been done without 100%. I think it actually takes away from the unit. I know you're trying to make it classier. And yes, I did just call it a unit. But then the Halls of Moria here, they have so much stuff. You have some dead bones, some weapons and armor. I like how the gravel has kind of a orange hint, which is almost like a reflection of the fire. I really didn't notice that earlier. So I think that was pretty intentional. And then this kind of dark brown carving. They made it look dark without making it look dark. So I think that was smart. On the back here, and we'll look at the front again in a second, you have like this giant window, the dwarven statues right here. Statues on a statue of a statue. Broken pieces, some Elvic writing or dwarf writing right there. Now, this is cracked right here. It's not broken, but it's cracked. I'm not sure the purpose of that. Almost like it looks like it's falling apart. Maybe it's a design thing. But here you see all the rubble. The rubble doesn't look the best. I mean, it looks a little plastic, and same with part of the base down here. Now, granted, that's not where your eye is going to, but it's definitely worth noting. Like I said, conceptually, it's fantastic. The paint and sculpt, though, I'm not so sure on it. There's another statue of a dwarf there. Same on this other side. Now, the bridge in the middle, again, those mixes of reds, orange, brown, tan-like colors, a little bit of black where he is. So the shadow, I'm just noticing this now, actually. So it's darker where he is because the reflection from Balrog isn't shining on there. So that's really smart how they did that. It really adds to it. I never noticed that till now. Very impressive. Now, regarding Gandalf, like I said, he is a very, very small figure. The back of him looks fine. It looks pretty good, actually. Let me try and get his portrait here. And again, this is where we run into those design issues. The likeness is okay. I mean, they're kind of what you would expect with such a small character. You're not going to see what you would on a 1/4 or even a 1/6. His staff looks great. The sword does look a little plasticky, but again, kind of expected. And Balrog is where your eye goes to. Now, they try to do that flame effect coming from the outside of him. So in his like reptilian-like skin, you see all these cracks and where that orange is kind of coming out. I think that's a smart way to do it other than making his body translucent. His head and mouth here, especially the eyes, don't look the best when it's not lit up. I purposefully don't have it lit up right now for you guys to kind of see what it looks like or what it would look like the majority of the time. Just paint it on there. And again, this, if you look specifically at the portrait, I would say it almost feels a little amateurish. But when you back up, that's when you really see that's pretty impressive. Now, as you go throughout his body, I like quite a bit of it. Not only the orange flame we talked about, but just kind of the segmented aspects of his tail, the protruding bones and things of that nature. The wings, a little more plasticky. They are obviously a light resin material, and you can tell that. They do have a lot of that same surface texture. They actually look better on camera than they do in real life, which is something that's honestly pretty rare. Now let's look at the flames. Flames are incredibly hard to do. You have to decide, am I going to go translucent? Am I going to go painted? And obviously they did a little bit of both for the light up feature, so it's kind of hard to judge because the light up feature is phenomenal, but this doesn't look the best. Doesn't look bad. I'd say very average. I think the direction of the flames looks pretty cool, especially on the sword here. I like the sword a lot better than the flames actually on Balrog. They did a really nice job with this. And maybe it's because I like more translucency in my flames. I've had many statues with both, and I think the translucency is just more realistic to fire. But I am impressed how this one right here, you can see the light through it when it's lit up because it looks like it's a lot heavier painted than, for example, this one. And then the ones up here, they don't light up at all. They look okay. They look good. Not amazing. But I think that's the thing here. There's just so much going on that you miss. I mean, I literally could do small close-ups and talk about each area for 1 to 2 minutes. So when you step back, it's phenomenal. Up close, a few things they could have done better. Some of it, I understand why they did what they did. Some of it, I think, especially for the price that we're going to talk about in value, they could have spent a little bit more time. I think the sculpt's better than the paint, so we're going to grade that first. I'm actually giving, they're pretty equal. I take that back. They're about pretty equal. We talked about the stuff with the fire. I think I'm going to give it, I keep going back and forth. I legitimately do. It's somewhere between a 3 and a 4. So I'm not going to score them, but if I did, it was between a 3 and a 4. And that's just me because I'm being really lazy because this was heavy as fuck to bring downstairs. That'll be the score. Heavy as fuck. I mean, honestly, I'm not scoring it because every time I look at it closer just to solidify my decision, I see something else that points me in one direction or the other. But I will say this, it's definitely average or above. So is it worth it though? Let's talk about value. Now they made 1,300 of these. 700 are like the ones I have, and then 600 also have that whip switch out. The whip switch out was $1,400. These were $1,300 plus shipping. So for a lot of Prime 1 Studio, especially when I know the shipping is going to be a lot, I go through Comic Concepts. They are my go-to for Prime 1 Studio pieces. They generally take longer to ship, but you get a much better deal on the shipping price, as well as a discount generally off retail. So I went with them. Big shout out, big thank you to Comic Concepts. There's a link in the description below. It's a non-affiliate link. I don't get anything if you click it. But if you can click on that, you can find a whole bunch of Prime 1 Studio pieces that you can get from Comic Concepts. Very reliable if you want to save some money. But I definitely think this is worth it. You know, right now, 1/3 scale statues, which are about the equivalent of this, actually even a little bit smaller, they're going for about that price range. So I think the value is pretty good on this. I think it's a 4 out of 5. This is a really, really cool piece. You know, Lord of the Rings has a huge following, and as I said, this is probably one of the coolest scenes, despite a lot of the display obstacles you're going to have with this. Now, does this have the X factor? Recently, I did this video right here of statues that I have coming in, and I'm not sure if I want anymore, and this was on that list. But it does have the X factor. I think I'm going to keep it. It's 5 out of 5. Mainly the light up feature is really what's putting it over the top for me. If it didn't have that, I could definitely pass on it. But I really love what that does to this. It almost comes to life with the flames that flickering that you've seen the entire time. Props to them. This is really, really cool. I'm impressed. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please drop a comment below. It really helps the visibility of the channel, plus you can win a statue. Also, please hit that like button. If you've never been here before, or if you've been here and you've never subscribed, hit that subscribe button. That's part of winning the contest as well, or the drawing. But I really appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.